Hi folks, Roger Douglas here. This is Basic Blog Setup Part 2. What we're going to do this time is we've gone through the first setup and we've got our web hosting account set up and we're all logged into our control panel here, and what we're going to do first is take a look at some email. First thing we want to do is first thing I want to show you here is that this is a real hosting account. You notice that everything here is in pretty much the unlimited domain areas. You've been in many SQL databases as you want, mailing list, bandwidth, the disk space, the whole shooting match here. It's a full featured web host here with pretty much anything any other web host would have. So the first thing I like to do is just to set up some email accounts for my main domain here, just so that we can keep things moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into that email account thing here. And notice we only got one domain here now, so we're just going to add a couple of email accounts. The first thing we want to do is to set the admin account. If I could type. And set some password. We want it to be a little stronger, but I'm setting it pretty weak just for test purposes here right now. Typically 250 megabytes is fine. Some of them we're going to want to set a little larger, and I'll show you how to do that later. So we just click on the create there, and what we've done is we've got our email address here and our login name here and the quota, and now we can go through and configure our mail client if we want, or we can go in later and check it through pop mail or web-based mail, or whatever we want to do with it. What we want to do excuse me, we're not going to configure an Outlook app or anything like that right now, so we'll go back here. Now I suggest you set up admin. I suggest you set up abuse, webmaster, and possibly spam. Those are the things that many websites need to get ranked well when we're working with pay-per-click and AdWord accounts and things like that. But you don't have to do it if you don't want to, not at this point. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to set up some email accounts. Now while we're in here setting up email accounts, I like to set up one for each blog as well. Name it a little bit more cryptic. We'll call it just ACEG blogger at MrGeniusReviews.com. Now what this account is going to do is we will be sending emails to it so that we can post to our websites or our blogs over the internet, over email. We don't have to go in there and configure it each time. And that'll become more obvious and more beneficial as we build more and more blogs. Okay, and we start doing 500 articles a night using our spinners and things like that. So these accounts here I like to set at 500 megabytes just in case. If something gets stuck, we don't want to have the account overloaded, so our scheduled blogs and stuff don't get posted, our scheduled posts. So we'll create that one. Now we want to remember this name here for later on, and we'll just we'll write it, jot it down somewhere or something, and just remember it. So we're setting up our other email accounts. We've got these set up. We want to remember that name right there. This is the one we'll have to use as our username later. But in the meantime, we'll go back. Now we've set up our email accounts, so now we can go back to our home control panel account. The next thing we want to do is to set up our WordPress blog. This tutorial here is going to focus on WordPress. Now the reason we use WordPress are manifold, and a lot of it's been explained out at some of the introductions. But just some of the plugins and the features, and as we set it up you'll see why it becomes very cool. Now we can set this up in just a few clicks by using Fantastico Deluxe. And we click on that, and notice there's lots of pieces of software here that we can install. Fantastico is a very cool little program that has scripts that will install all kinds of freeware applications that will run on these Linux hosts, from e-commerce to classified ads. But what we're going to focus on is WordPress, and we're not going to bother with the other ones for right now. Maybe in some advanced classes we will, but right now we're going to focus on WordPress. And notice that there are no WordPress installations here now, so we're just going to go ahead and do a new installation. We just click on it, and since we don't want to, at this point we're just going to install it straight into the main directory. Our domain is going to be a WordPress blog, so we don't need to add anything here. Now if we had more domains in our system, we'd have more domains listed here, and we'll go over that in another tutorial when we talk about multiple domains on the same host. Typically we're going to make the username admin, and then you put whatever password you want in there. Do something a little more creative than what I've done. The admin nickname, I'll just leave it as admin. You can change it if you want. We're going to change this to the admin account if we want. You can use any email here that you want. You could perhaps use your own email, because what will happen is if you do a password, if you forget your password and need to do a reset, it's going to send it, the admin password, to whatever email address is in here. The site name, we'll spruce it up a little bit. This is what's going to show as our header. And then we type a short description. And we click on Install WordPress. Tells you a little bit of information, how you're going to get to it. Tells you the name of the database if you ever need to go back and do anything in the back end to it. And you click Finish Installation, and we are done. Now notice in the other tutorial, when we first set up our hosting account, this was our default page. Okay, so if we click on our refresh, and it's still there. So here's what we need to do. What we need to do is, it sets up a default page as index.html, and we need to go into our site and delete that, so we can go back to our control panel application here from Fantastico. Now notice I have this running in another window. That's the main domain here. But if we go back into Fantastico, into cPanel, not Fantastico but cPanel, we can open our application here called File Manager. And what that will do is it will open this up in a window and allow us to see all the files in our home directory. So what we need to do is to go in, we want to delete this file here, because it's this file we want to be active, the index.php. So the File Manager allows us to right click on that file and to delete it. Now remember, again, make sure you select this one, the index.html, and not the PHP one. So we delete that file and we should be all set, and we can close the File Manager out for the time being. Now when we go back to our domain and we hit refresh, we should see a WordPress blog, and there we are. Our WordPress blog is installed, and that's all there is to it. We've installed our email addresses and we've installed our WordPress blog. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk about customizing this WordPress blog and really taking advantage of some of the features of WordPress. So for now, thanks and have a good evening.